Alrighty, so it's time to do part 2 of the review for match week number 33. We're going to look at the busy 7:30 p.m. Eastern start and then also look at the remaining 8:30 p.m. Eastern start, as I already did part number 1 where we decided to go backwards this week. We're going to look at the games that happen in the late kickoff, which I already did. Now we're going to look at the games that happened earlier, starting off with the first one, which is New England versus Toronto, and we're going to kind of just get some of these games that are kind of a little meaningless out of the way, because I'm pretty sure you guys want me to talk about what happened in terms of this game and also on almost an epic meltdown that we saw in Atlanta as well. But we start off with New England versus Toronto that ended in a 1-1 draw, and I gotta say, I thought this was gonna end 0-0. I thought for this game it would have been so fitting, the fact that it would end 0-0, because of the way that, you know, it's perhaps one of the more meaningless game. I mean, both of these games you could say are among the most meaningless game this week itself. But in the first half, Sean Kalai with the game's first shot, but he missed high before Kerr heads it wide in the 14th minute. As expected, not much happened in the first 20 minutes. Only one shot apiece early in this one. If you actually watch this one, I definitely salute you. You're really a true MLS sicko. But in the 21st minute, Galvran would deny Heel from close before Turner denied Mihajlovic from long range in the 29th minute. Sean Kalai then hits it wide from close before Yusuf would miss wide from close range. Actually, let me bring my thing up here so I can read it a little bit better. But yeah, I thought the chances would start to come for both of these teams, but the question is, who can get the opener? Well, Corbinu tried to do so. He hits one that actually was spilled by Turner, and there was actually two Toronto players ready to pounce on it, and somehow in some way, none of them got it. I mean, it was kind of a little fortuitously for Matt Turner, the fact that he spilled that one and somehow was able to gather. Sean Kalai then hits one right to Galvran in the 44th minute, but we do head to halftime with the scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Heel would miss wide from the top of the box before Corbinu missed one just wide from long range. Just like part of the first half, both of these teams exchanged some possession looking for the opening goal, but then we did go for a period where not much really happened, and you're just thinking, oh yeah, this has 0-0 written all over it, but it didn't, because in the 75th minute, Corbinu would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of Toronto. He scored for Mihajlovic here to make it 1-0 for the visitor. Oryevov would then look to respond, but he hits it right to Galvran before Vincent was in on goal there, but he only hits it straight to Turner. And that is one that Drew Anthony Winston will want to have back, because that is one that you should expect him to finish. Even though he hasn't had a lot of luck in front of goal, that is one that you expect a player like him to finish, and you just kind of had a sense, is that one going to come back to haunt Toronto? And it did, because in the 90th minute, Langoni would tie the game up at 1 apiece for the Revs. Took a wicked deflection and goes in, so a little bit fortuitously in New England perspective. But yeah, in the end, it does end in a 1-1 draw on this one. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 9 that Toronto has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that TFC had, 5 shots off target for the 3 that Toronto has, 2 shots off block for the 1 that Toronto has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Toronto has in this game. And with this draw, Toronto is officially eliminated from the playoffs. I'll be doing the moving forward series about them once I come back from this little road trip that I'm doing. But for New England, they're probably joining them relatively soon too. Both of these teams are pretty much in see you next season mode. And the same can get said about the next game as well, between Montreal and St. Louis. Another game that is kind of meaningless for both of these teams, because both of these teams are pretty close in terms of getting eliminated. Well, actually, in the case of Montreal, they're already eliminated. I think St. Louis stay off elimination at least for this game. But nevertheless, in the first half, Piet puts it wide from long range before Jaime puts it wide from long range. As I thought it was a promising start for Montreal. They started well in this one. We're looking to try to get the opener. The first shot for St. Louis did see Hartel puts it wide on the header, but then in the 11th minute, St. Louis takes the lead. It's Conrad Wallum. He scored here to tie the game up at 1 apiece. A little fortunate there from Wallum, because this one actually took a fortuitous bounce, which happened right to him, and he buries that one. Something that you just don't see St. Louis got a lot of that this season. I mean, they've been suffering they're a good amount of bad luck this season, so for once it kind of goes in their way. But it's kind of frustrating if you're a St. Louis fan thinking, well, for once our luck went on our side, and it's pretty much meaningless because we're pretty close to getting eliminated. Owusu did look to answer, but he was denied by Berkey before Wallum looked for another, but missed high in the 15th minute. Longstaff had a chip that was clear off the line in the 22nd minute. That also happened because there was a WTF turnover committed by St. Louis. I mean, honestly, they gave the ball in a very bad spot as well, and they are very lucky. The fact that Longstaff, when he tried to chip this one, didn't really put too much power on the chip, and they were able to just clear that one away. And yeah, St. Louis really got away with it too. I mean, the scoreline of this game doesn't really indicate the fact that this was actually a pretty competitive game. It could have gone either way between both of these teams. Leuven would then puts it just high from close. Both of these teams were exchanging some chances, but who can get that crucial next goal? Well, Owusu tried to do so, but he was absolutely robbed by Berkey in the near post, and that is one that not only Prince Owusu would want to have back, but hey, Roman Berkey, he's still showing that he's still have it in him, even in games that are kind of almost starting to become meaningless. I'm going to be very interested to see what's going to happen next year for Roman Berkey. I'm not quite sure if his contract is up this year. From what I heard, St. Louis fans said that his contract's up next year. If it is, that's going to be very interesting for the front office to see whether or not they're going to bring him back. I mean, he has kind of expressed his frustration with St. Louis at times, so yeah, it's easier said to be saying that, well, they definitely should bring him back when you have a player that is probably not happy in terms of being your team right now. You really need to definitely do some convincing if you decide to renew the contract of Roman Berkey. But we do head to halftime with St. Louis leading 1-0 in the second half. Pompeo would miss wide from long range, but then in the 55th minute, Hartel would score. As he scored from João Klaus in some bin to make it 2-0 in favor of St. Louis. Klaus did look for another, but he missed one in the 58th minute. Momentum was with St. Louis. St. Louis definitely started the second half the better side. They were looking to get this third goal and put this one out of reach. Siwas would then deny Leuven from the near post in the 59th minute, but then on the other end, the post denied Ivan Jaime of his first career MLS goal. He is very, very close of finally scoring his first career MLS goal there, but Petrasso would then puts it wide from close in the 65th minute, or stretch at the 61st minute, that is, and Montreal all of a sudden saying, not so fast, we're now look to try to get one back, and they felt they got it in the 70th minute when Sunchek put the ball into the back net. However, the flag did not agree with him, so the goal, of course, was chopped off for offside. Leuven would then puts it wide from close in the 72nd minute before Klaus would hits one right to Siwas. Owusu would then hits it wide from close. What is pretty much defending, because up to that point there was not much defending that was seen from both of these teams, and it's kind of almost miraculous the fact that the scoreline is still only at 2-0. But nevertheless, that was the final score of this game. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 13 that St. Louis had, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that St. Louis had, 5 shots off target compared to 8 that St. Louis had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 9 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that St. Louis has in this game. So yeah, for St. Louis, a rare road win for them this season. Pretty much is completely meaningless. I mean, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture, and the same you can say about Montreal. I mean, it's all about playing for pride right now, and I don't think Montreal played bad in this game. It's just, unfortunately, the luck was just not on their side. They just had some good opportunity in this one, just couldn't bury it, and even had one that was chopped off because of the flag. Now, we move on in the next game, and now to a game that is a little bit more meaningful. I mean, in the case of Orlando City, it is kind of meaningful for them because they desperately need a win. I mean, Orlando City, ever since that big win that they had against Inter Miami, things have kind of fallen apart for this team. And this is the thing, when I said about teams that get big wins. Yes, it could be a big win for a team, but sometimes, you know, your next game, you could definitely have that period where you might be playing down to your competition and you might not be up for it compared to the previous one, because, you know, I'm pretty sure they were so hyped up for that Inter Miami game, and yeah, ever since that they haven't really been up for most of these games that they're in. It's almost like they're started suffering the same effect that Cincinnati had last season, when Cincinnati has that big win against Miami, and then after that it was all downhill. It feels like that was the peak for them, and then it just goes like this, and that's kind of where Orlando City is right now. Now, in the first half, Freeman would hit it right to Barraza after just 10 seconds into this game. If that one went in, that would have been the fastest goal scored this season, and one of the fastest we have ever seen in MLS history. Barraza then denied Ojeda from close, and then he denied Schlegel on a diving header. It was all Orlando early in this one, and they really shot out of the cannon. It looked like this was going to be an easy win for Orlando City. Maguire would then puts it wide on the header before Priani hits it right to Galese. The shots were already 4-1 for Orlando 10 minutes in. Barraza would then deny Pasalic from long range. The shots were now 9-1 in favor of Orlando City, and the shots would be very lopsided by the end of this game as well. But in the 29th minute, Freeman would miss one high from close before Benteke flashed one wide from long range. But then in the 33rd minute, DC got the opening goal. It's Jackson Hopkins. He scored from Antley and Paglo to give DC a 1-0 lead. I mentioned before how Jackson Hopkins could definitely be a bit of a revelation for this DC team and a young player to watch, and it's definitely shown right now. I mean, he's definitely have been able to do that, and just like that, it is a 1-0 lead in favor of DC, despite the fact that, yeah, I mean, they haven't really been the better team in this game whatsoever. But in the second half, Schlegel would hit it right to Barraza on the doorstep of goal. Oh, I mentioned the fact that it was 1-0 in favor of DC as well. Forgot to mention that as well. But in the second half, Schlegel hits it right to Barraza on the doorstep of goal. But then in the 53rd minute, Orlando finally beat Barraza. Barraza was definitely a defensive stalwart in this one, or I would say a goalkeeper stalwart in this one. He was having one of his best game of his career, probably the best game he has ever had for DC, but there was nothing he can do about this one. He actually did make a great save there from Paslic, but it just falls right to Alex Freeman, who finished it, though he did pay the price when he finished that chance, because he definitely took a high boot on McNulton. And it's also good the fact that they actually did take a look at it. I mean, I've seen before where, when a goal is scored, maybe they might look at a previous play that might be in danger of safety at an opponent. In that case, I mean, it was pretty clear that even though Freeman put it in the back net, McNulton put a really high boot. I mean, that is a definition of in danger of the safety of a player. And unsurprisingly, in the 57th minute, when they go to VAR to check it, they said that of course, is the case. So McNulton was sent off after he high boot Freeman after he scored there. So yeah, that's just double whammy for DC United. Not only concede a goal, but now down to 10 men as a result. Paslic would then hit one right to Barraza in the 66th minute. Though I thought for the most part, DC was doing a good job in terms of shutting down this Orlando City side. They weren't allowing as much chance as they did in the first half, or even in the second half as well. And that, again, it just kind of shows you that just because you're up a man, it doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that you're going to win the game, or you're just going to absolutely dominate the game. Sometimes the team that is down a man, they might actually do much better than the team that is up a man. I mean, it feels like that has actually happened a lot more often in MLS play than we have seen before. But nevertheless, in the 75th minute, Atuesta would hit it right to Barraza before Spicer would flash one wide from close range. Orlando was once again trying to push hard for the winner. DC was pretty much just holding firm to trying to get a draw out of this one. Paslic would then hit it right to Barraza before Freeman flashed one wide from close range. And then the 10th minute stoppage time, Paslic would put it wide from close. So yeah, despite that late push for Orlando in this one, don't get the 3 points in this one. They drew 1-1 in this game. The shots in this one very lopsided. 6 shots compared to 26 that Orlando City has. 11 shots on goal for the 3 that DC had. 2 shots off target for the 5 that Orlando City has. 1 shot that was blocked for the 9 that Orlando City has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that DC has in this game. A little reminiscent of the game that we saw last week between St. Louis and Dallas, where St. Louis had like 40-plus shot and still aren't able to get the victory. And I believe that was also a game where St. Louis was also up a man as well. So yeah, for Orlando City, this has got to be a very frustrating resort, and this is now kind of the opposite of what we saw last year. This is usually the time where we saw the last 2 seasons Orlando City usually get on a bit of a hot streak, but yeah, this season it's been kind of the complete opposite. And it's one thing, of course, to make it to the playoffs, but it's getting to a point for Orlando City. The expectation is not just make the playoffs; they need to go deep and maybe trying to get themselves back to Eastern Conference Final and finish the job that was left undone last season. Because yeah, it seems like right now the way that Orlando has played, I would not be surprised it might be a one and done for them, considering how much of a bloodbath the Eastern Conference is going to be this year. If you're not playing well coming into the playoffs and you just kind of back your way into the playoffs out of the East, you pretty much have not a lot of chances in terms of trying to go deep, because of all the good teams that are already setting up themselves to be a chance to get into the playoffs and ready to be in a good form to really fight out to trying to be the team that represent the East out of MLS Cup in the Eastern Conference. Speaking of that, these 2 teams that I'll talk about next are those 2 teams that are setting themselves up for a deep run. That is Cincinnati versus Nashville. And I gotta say, can we have this matchup in the playoffs? Because it definitely felt like a very playoff kind of game in this one between Cincinnati and Nashville. And as I said, for Cincinnati, they needed this one badly, because throughout this season, while Cincinnati has been very good this season this season on the road, at home this season it's been a complete different story. They have not been a good home team this season, especially in these big games like this against big opponent. They need to get the win against these big opposition at home, and in this one, it didn't look like it was going to happen because I thought Nashville played very well in this one. You could maybe even say Nashville was at times the better team in this one, especially the second half, but somehow in some way Cincinnati pulled it through in the end. Now in the first half, Marchuk with the game's first shot, but he missed one in the 5th minute before Brenner would heads it right to Willis in the 7th minute. Mukto would then puts it wide from close range. It was a lively start for this big Eastern Conference bout. Again, that's kind of expected because if you think that there was going to be some feeling up here, you may be mistaken. Both of these teams really want this one. Things did start to get a little tight, though, I will say, as both defense started to do clamp down a little bit in terms of the amount of chances these chances was getting, but by the 24th minute, things started to change again. Both attacks started to get going. It started with Surridge heads it right to Loro before Quasi would heads it high from close range in the 25th minute. Not quite sure what happened to Roman Salentano in this one. I'm not quite sure, did he get injured, or is this a game where Pat Nolan decided to rest him, which is kind of an odd game to do, to try to rest your starting goalkeeper when you're playing against such a big opponent. And it's not like Cincinnati has U.S. Open Cup commitment as well, so not quite sure what happened to Salentano. He might be injured in this one, so that's why he didn't play. Nashville definitely has some momentum. They were looking for the opener goal. Laurel would then deny Bauer from close range, and despite not having Salentano, Evan Laurel has been pretty good as a backup netminder for Cincinnati. In fact, I would say he's definitely one of the best backup in the league in my opinion, and he definitely did not skip a beat in terms of him doing a good job in terms of making some big save in this one as well. Evander would then hit it right to Willis before Jabari flashed one high in the 35th minute, and then Brenner would miss an absolute sitter on the doorstep of goal, and that is one that not only Brenner want to have back, but yeah, you just gotta have a sense he really need a goal to finally score one for the first time since coming back to his team. And we've seen before where in the first stint when Brenner was with Cincinnati, these are kind of the goals that he usually score. But there was no doubt the momentum was now swing back towards Cincinnati. This was one of those games where the momentum was swing back and forth, and that kind of continued in the second half with the game scoreless at 0-0. Surridge would then hits a weak shot right to Lauro before Lauro denied tag stamp from the top of the box. Nashville definitely started well, pushing to try to get the opener in the second half. Onunga would then hits one right to Willis before Willis denied Denke from long range, and Cincinnati says not so fast, because now we got the momentum back, and now we're looking to try to get the opener goal, and they do in the 73rd minute. And remember how I said Brenner really wanted to score a goal for the first time since coming back from this team for the second stint? Well, he finally got his wish, because he scored here from Evander to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Surridge would then... Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. I'm a little ahead of myself here. But yeah, that made it 1-0, and that, it looked like Cincinnati had all the momentum in the world. However, 11 minutes later, Surridge would equalize as he scored from Boyd and Brugman to make it 1-1 in this one. Laurel, I'll tell you what, somehow and someone he got a hand on this one. I mean, this was a point-blank effort from Sam Surridge. I would have not expected Laurel would do anything to try to keep it out, but he did do a good job at least get a hand to it, but just not enough to keep that one out. I don't think that was really on him there. There was really no chance that he would have saved that. The fact that he got a hand to that one is a bit of a miracle as well. Zimmerman would then heads it over from close in the 87th minute before Mukhtar puts it wide on the doorstep of goal. Nashville definitely has the momentum. You just sense that after the equalizer, they look to now try to maybe press for the winner. However, in the 8th minute of stoppage time, really completely against the run of play, Evander would score the winning goal for Cincinnati. He scored from Enchiki and Buka to give Cincinnati a big 2-1 win in this one. As the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 11 that Nashville has, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that Nashville has, 6 shots off target for both of these teams, 6 shots off block compared to none that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Nashville has in this game. So both of the teams that I'm going to be seeing tomorrow in the semifinal of the U.S. Open Cup down in Nashville, both of them are going to come into that game with a loss. So that should be very interesting to see who, of course, will be the more up for the team, especially with the fact that one of the team just lost 7-0 coming into that semifinal game. But nevertheless, for Cincinnati, they needed this one badly. I mean, this is a game that really is a statement win for them that, yes, we can actually win big games at home for once, and that's going to be something that they're going to need to continue to to do, because they're going to have these big games at home, especially where they are potentially going to be finishing maybe even at the top spot in the Eastern Conference as well. Because right now, despite the fact that the Union is at the top of the Eastern Conference, I mean, the Union has been kind of a little shaky lately, and that was highly evident in that 7-0 beatdown that we saw on Saturday against Vancouver. So there's still a shot that Cincinnati can get that top spot, and still a big shot in terms of winning the Supporters' Shield as well. I mean, the Supporters' Shield race is definitely going to come down to the wire again this year as well, and there's still so many teams that are within touching distance of that as well. But that being said, I am now going to erase the board and put the notes up, or at least put the score up for the next 4 games to finish up the review of match week number 33. All right, so now moving on, in the next one is Charlotte versus Inter Miami, and Charlotte has done it. They have now matched the Seattle Sounders back in 2018, at least the post PK shootout era and the post shootout era that is in MLS, of now reaching the longest winning streak we've ever seen in league history, with 9 wins in a row after winning 3-0 in this one against Inter Miami. And they definitely look like they play like a team that won 8 in a row in this game. I mean, they really outplayed Miami in this one. And if you're Miami, and especially if you're an Inter Miami fan, whether you're a casual or you're a diehard fan, there's got to be some serious concern with the way that this team, despite how good they are this season, we have seen at times this season when they do have these big games like this, they weren't able to be on the winning ways at the end. And when playoff time comes, they're going to have a lot of these games, and the pressure of this team is at its maximum. I mean, they probably have the most pressure in terms of deliver in the playoffs, especially win MLS Cup. And unfortunately, so far from we have seen a couple of times in this regular season, that pressure seems like maybe started to get to them a little bit too. But in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Kalina denied Alba on the doorstep of the post. As expected, Miami had a lot of possession earlier in this one and was on the front foot looking for the lead. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Charlotte not given after Bronico missed, and I thought Charlotte did a good job in terms of surviving the original Miami pressure. Miami definitely started better in this one, but Charlotte really grew into this one and were looking to try to get something. But then the 29th minute, Messi would put this one high, but then they feel like there should have been a penalty, because as Messi was about to take the shot, he looked like he was brought down by Diani. So they did go to VAR to see whether or not that is the case, and VAR says yes. So a penalty, of course, was given to Miami. So here comes Messi, the GOAT himself. You know, he haven't missed a penalty so far with Inter Miami. Surely he shouldn't miss one, right? Right? Well, no, because here Messi tried to do the Panenka. We've seen him do this multiple times throughout his career. Most of the time it's been very successful, but this time it was not, because Kalina probably saw that and read it all the way, and he just kind of stood there and able to make the save here. And little did we know, that moment completely changed the game. And, you know, it's not often where you see a penalty kick miss is a defining moment in a game, but this is one of those moments, because literally after when Messi tried to do the Panenka and fell miserably, Charlotte go on the other end to score. As Tokomati, he scored from Vargas and Westwood to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. Little do we know that this would be a career night for Idan Tokomati as well, and also a coming out party for him as well, and maybe also a party to send the message to the rest of the league that, yeah, he has arrived. He is the number 9 for the Charlotte FC team. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Charlotte had a 2v1 opportunity. Vargas looked like he was in on goal there, but was poked away by Falcon. Yeah, that is one that Vargas will want to have back. He did take a heavy touch, and that kind of allowed Falcon a way to poke that one away. But nevertheless, Charlotte were up 1-0 in this halftime, and in the second half they waste no time to make it 2-0, because you got to do that when you're facing against Inter Miami. You have to put away your chances and capitalize on your opportunity, and Charlotte did exactly that, as Tokomati would score here from Bronico and Zaha to make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte. Yande did look to answer, but he missed one in the 51st minute, before in the 52nd minute Diani would hit it right to Ustari. Miami continued to have most of the possession, but this also kind of plays right into the hands of Charlotte. We know Charlotte is a team that likes to go on the counter attack and likes to go on the transition because of all the speedy players that they have on the wing. So you just kind of sense this is going to go. It feels like it plays right into the Charlotte hands. Though in the 72nd minute, Allende was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Kalina on a 1v1 opportunity. Remember when I said that in my video how I say Kalina could be in contention of MVP? Yes, I know he had a very bad start to the season, but he looked like the goalkeeper of the year again. Doing this winning streak. I mean, he is basically stopping everything and making some big save after big save, and here he did it again with a huge save there to Allende to keep this one at 2-1, and that was huge too because just 3 minutes later, Toto Avalos would get his second yellow card in the game because, of course, that's the case. He's always a second yellow card machine in this league. He has had a lot of sending off throughout his time with Inter Miami, and yeah, Miami were down to 10 men as a resort, and to add insult to injury, a penalty was given to Charlotte again as Zaha was brought down by Busquets in the box. So yeah, a penalty was coming up for Charlotte, and you would expect Wilfried Zaha was going to take this because he knows that this is kind of his time to do so, considering he's the designated penalty kick taker and he won the penalty. But this is also kind of where I think Zaha has kind of sent the message of some of the doubters, the fact that he's a little immature, because Zaha could have easily taken this penalty, and I don't think it would even show his immaturity side of play because he won that penalty. But this is kind of just show that he's not an immature person. He does shows that leadership kind of ability, and I think he has done a really good job, especially during his early tenure with Charlotte. How he was not afraid to call out players and hold players accountability. And sometimes I'm okay with players decided to do that, because at the end of the day, when Charlotte had a bad run of form, you need someone to really speak up and hold yourself accountable. And Zaha is kind of a player that throughout his career he's not afraid to basically let people know, especially even to the media, to hold the accountability. And I think that also turns out to be a turning point for the Charlotte team, because I think ever since that moment, Charlotte has completely turned things around in that play. So instead here, he give it to Tilkamadi a chance to complete his first ever hat trick, and he does exactly that. So it's 3-0 up to this point. Zaha, though, did try to score himself, but he blasted one in the 86th minute. It was party atmosphere at Charlotte in this one. By the way, they did not open the upper bowl for this one. I was very surprised. I feel like they should have opened the upper bowl. They would have definitely sold out the entire stadium and probably had close to a record crowd as well. But nevertheless, even if it wasn't a full bowl, it was party atmosphere at Bank of America Stadium. I mean, it just kind of felt like Charlotte of the first season all over again, where when the bank is bouncing, you better believe it's going to be one of the best atmosphere in MLS ever. But nevertheless, in the end, Charlotte gets the 3-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, both teams had 10 shots in this one. 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that Miami has. 2 shots off target compared to 3 that Charlotte has. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Charlotte has in this one. And like I said about Miami, in the playoffs, they cannot have these kind of games. And you just hope that maybe this is just just getting this out of the way in the regular season when it comes to these big games, because they're going to have more of these big games for the rest of the regular season. And when the playoffs does begin, that's when the measuring stick really begin, because if this team failed again and miss out on going deep into the playoffs, there is definitely going to be a lot of scrutiny and maybe some changes that could happen with this team as well. This team is full on MLS Cup or bust, and if it's bust, think somebody's going to probably get fired from this team. Now, moving on, in terms of a match that we almost saw, probably the greatest comeback in MLS history, or the biggest choke job we have ever seen in MLS history, depending on who you ask. Columbus was 5-0 up at one point in this game. You would have thought that this game was over, and I wouldn't blame Atlanta fans turn their TV off when it was 5-0, because, this season, it's been a miserable season for Atlanta. By far the most disappointing team this season, and I even said that it seems like might as well, for Atlanta, they might as well just fire Ronnie Daly at halftime at this rate. But then something clicked in the second half, and that's where if you're Columbus, I mean, I know there's a lot of injuries at the back line, but there's got to be some serious concern for Columbus, and this does not look like a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs. Now, in the first half, Tiare puts it over from close range before Schulte denied me here from close. Believe it or not, Atlanta actually started the better side in this one. Before the 5-0 scoreline that Columbus would put, and that 5 goals kind of quick succession thrashing that they took. Atlanta was actually the better team in this one, but in the 11th minute, Herrera looked like he made it 1-0 in this one, but the goal was disallowed because there was an offside on the development play. It didn't matter though, because 3 minutes later, Rossi would put the ball into the back of net to give Columbus a 1-0 lead, and he loved to do that so much that he did it again just 3 minutes later. This time he scored from Gazdag and Arfsson to make it 2-0. TRA did look to answer, but he missed wide. But in the 25th minute, Abu Ali would score, and I believe this is his first goal for Columbus, if I'm not mistaken. But he scored here from Gazdag and Herrera to make it 3-0 in favor of Columbus, and this is when I thought, oh boy, this could get ugly for Atlanta. We've seen this story before. Columbus, they feel like they have finally found their groove after, it's been a real struggle for Wilfred Nancy's side coming out of the Leeds Cup. TRA did try the acrobatic overhead kick, but he hits it right to Schulte. But then in the 30th minute, it was 4-0 in favor of Columbus, as Andres Herrera would score here to make it 4-0, or I should say Andres Herrera that's scoring this one, not the Man United player that is. I accidentally meant say the Man United player, or the former Man United player that is, but this is Andres Herrera, the one that scored to make it 4-0, and then just 9 minutes later it's 5-0 in favor of Columbus, as Diego Rossi would complete his hat trick from Herrera and Abu Ali to make it 5-0. And like I said, this game is over. Like 5-0, you might as well just pack things up. And I even wrote, Ronnie Dillon might as well just kind of pack his bag at halftime, because you just kind of had a sense that his firing is imminent at the end of this game. There's just no way in the world, after all the things that have gone wrong for him in his tenure with Atlanta, a 5-0 thrashing after 39 minutes. There's really no coming back for him. However, in the first minute of stoppage time, a penalty was given to Atlanta as TRA was brought down by Shaberko. So Almiron steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it to make it 5-1. But you're thinking, that's maybe just a footnote in the game. Maybe just a small consolation for Atlanta as they're heading to halftime down 5-1 in this one. Surely there's not going to be some crazy thing that happened in the second half, right? Well, in the 46th minute, Amador would score his first goal of the season for Landon to make it get 5-2 in this one. I mentioned he scored from Lennon and Almiron here to make it 5-2 in this game. And then just 3 minutes later, TRA would score from Mihai to make it 5-3 in this one. And to be fair, Jamar TRA, he deserved that goal. I mean, he was working very hard to finally score a goal here, and he finally got one here. But then you're just thinking, is this about to happen? Like, are we seriously about to see the biggest choke job in MLS history? Because Columbus, not only they have not shown up in the beginning of the second half, but it is a 2-goal game. All the momentum was with the Five Stripes up to this point, and they almost made it 5-4 in the 65th minute if it wasn't for Schulte robbing Riley from point blank, and then he denied Moranchik from close in the 78th minute. As I said, it was all Atlanta in the second half. I mean, I know when you're up 5-1, it's easy to take your foot off the gas and maybe just cruise your way to the next game. But it's getting to a point where when you are giving up 2 goals in quick succession heading into the second half, I mean, you got to say that Columbus got to wake up. And again, this is something we never see with a Wilfred Nancy side. We never see this happen when a game is so lopsided. You would never expect a Wilfred Nancy side would have an epic choke job like this. But they did eventually kind of woke up a little bit, as in the 80th minute, Ayu looked like he made it 6-3 in this one. But the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside again, because that's just kind of how the second half went. It just gone completely against Columbus in the second half. Gregerson would then heads it wide from the corner before Moranchik had a shot that was blocked off the line in the 88th minute. But then just 1 minute later, TRA scores again. He scored from Azadi to make it 5-4 in this one. We get 8 minutes of stoppage time. And you're just thinking, this is going to happen, isn't it? The unthinkable is going to happen, where we have never seen in the history of this league a 5-0 comeback. Heck, we have never seen a 4-0 comeback or a 4-goal comeback in this league history. The most we have seen is a 3-0 comeback. Obviously, we've seen it a lot the season, and we've seen one. I think there was one game between Seattle and DC where Seattle came back from a 3-0 deficit against DC to win 4-3. But we have never seen a 5-0 comeback. This would be, I would say the biggest choke job we will ever see, and the greatest comeback we'll ever see in MLS history, and it just feels like Atlanta was pressing hard to do the unthinkable in this one. Gregerson would then put it over from close range before Almiron has the last chance, but he puts it right to Schulte. But yeah, in the end, Columbus survived just about too, because Atlanta, I think if this game would have gone for another 10 minutes, they probably would have completed the unthinkable comeback. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 7 that Columbus had, 7 shots on goal for the 8 that Atlanta has, 6 shots off target for the none that Columbus had, no shots that was blocked for the 3 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And for Columbus, I mean, the good news is the winless run has finally come to an end. They finally got a win coming out of the Leeds Cup, but yeah, there's got to be a lot of concern coming out of this game. I understand that they have a lot of injuries to deal with. They're losing a lot of players in the back line, but it should, even with the injuries that they have, and for a team that builds itself the fact that they have one of the better depth chart in this league, I mean, we should not be seeing this happen, and this is very unlike Wilfried Nancy. In fact, the last couple of weeks for Columbus, they're playing a very Wilfried Nancy like kind of ball. Nancy ball is never like this, where you go up big and almost cause yourself to end up on the wrong end of the greatest comeback in MLS history. But here we are. That's what we almost saw in this one. And for Columbus, I mean, if you're Wilfried Nancy, I know he'll be very happy the fact that the winless run is finally come to an end, but I would not blame him the fact that he would be very upset at his player at the end of this game of almost choking this away, because these are kind of the performance you cannot do when you go into the playoffs. I mean, you're fortunate the fact that you were facing against Atlanta and the fact that the comeback to short. I think if this happened to any other team, or if Atlanta would have able to make it 5-4 sooner, you better believe the comeback would have been on in this one. And as I said, for Columbus, there's got to be some serious concern about this team, even though they finally had their winless run comes to an end after this game. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Seattle and the Galaxy. So Seattle looked like they were about to do the free-peat against the Galaxy in this one, but this is a classic example of why it's always hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And this is also a game where, yeah, for Seattle, it seemed like this is a little bit of a flashback of the problem that they had before, where closing out games this season at times has been a struggle for the Seattle Sounders. And I know that's crazy to say for a Brian Schmidt's kind of side, but it has happened this season. I mean, they have had some games where they have been blowing multiple goals lead at home, and this was another example of against a Galaxy side that, like I said, they're pretty much just playing out of the string and playing the kits from now on. But in the 5th minute or the 5th minute of the game, almost at 5th minute of stoppage time that is, but the 5th minute of the game, Seattle does take the 1-0 lead as Jesus Ferreira would score from Moskowski and Rodon to make it 1-0 in favor of Seattle. That was also the game's first shot as well. Miller did look to answer, but he missed wide before Yoshida would head it right to Fry in the 19th minute. I thought it was a good response for the Galaxy as they were now looking to try to get the equalizer. Fagundes would put it over from the free kick before Fry tips a real shot over in the 30th minute. Mikovic then denied Rock from close, and then he denied Moskowski from close range in the 37th minute as Seattle looked like started to get themselves into the game again, putting some sustained pressure to look for the second. Cirillo would then put it over from close, but then in the 41st minute, Seattle does get that second goal. As Danny Moskowski, he scored from Rothrock and Vargas to make it 2-0 in this one, but it was quickly back to a 1-goal margin because 3 minutes later, Yoshida would score from Fagundes and Painto to make it 2-1 in this one, and that will be the scoreline heading into the second half as well. But heading into the second half, it looked like Rothrock restored that 2-goal lead. He put the ball into the back net. Problem was, he was in an offside position, and it was not close whatsoever. I think he knew it as soon as he hits this one to the back net that he was in an offside position. But not much really happened besides that moment in the start of the second half, which usually that favors the teams that's winning, which in this case it's the Seattle Sounders. Fry would then deny Winder from long range before Rodon would put it over from long range in the 70th minute. Reagan would then head it right to Mikovic from the corner before Mikovic would deny Alex Rodon from close range. So yeah, Seattle continue to push to try to get the third in this one to kill this game off. Manungu then goes on his bike but miss high in the 81st minute. and then in the 85th minute, Sullivan would hit it right to Fry. So again, Seattle looked like they were on their way to get another 3 points, going to do the free-peat against the Galaxy, but then in the 87th minute, the Galaxy said not so fast. And this is what happened when you don't put your team away, because when you don't put or put your opposition away, this will always happen where the Galaxy believe that they can get the equalizer, and they do, as Yamane would score from Lepli and Cuevas to make it 2-2 in this one. So the 2 Japanese players scored for the Galaxy. That must be the first time we've seen those 2 Japanese players able to score, especially I don't think we would have had those two players both being defender, well, one being a wing back, that is, to be on the score sheet. But here, Yamane scored from Lepli and Cuevas to make it 2-2 in this one. And I mean, the Sounders, they were punished for not putting this game to bed. Morris did try to take the lead for the Sounders, but he was denied by Mikovic before Rusnak would miss wide from close range. But in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 15 that the Galaxy had, 9 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots off target for the 3 that the Galaxy had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 44% possession the Galaxy has in this game. So while this draw kind of meaningless for the Galaxy as well, in fact, I think they're now officially eliminated from the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, let me just quickly check in terms of the standing that is. And if that, of course, is the case, I'll once again be doing a moving forward series about them. In fact, let me just check it right here. I think... no, they're still alive. The Galaxy are still alive in contention as well. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Atlanta is also eliminated from playoff contention. So that epic comeback that they had, it was all for not that is, and they're eliminated. But the Galaxy are still alive. I mean, thanks to this comeback that they had. But for Seattle, I mean, again, it's not easy to do the free-peat against the same opponent in a single season, but you just gotta think that they probably should have done it in this one, and especially these kind of drop points that they have, which, as I said, it has happened more often than you think for Brian Schmitz's side. It can come back to haunt them if they don't able to get themselves some home field advantage or be in the higher seed. Because when you look at where they are in the standings, I believe they're currently 4th in the standings right now, but LAFC is not that far away from them. Like, they're literally right behind them, and even the Portland Timbers are not far away from them. I think they're let's see, the Timbers are they're only 3 points out, and remember, there's still one more Cascadia Derby left in the season as well. So Seattle's they're 4th spot right now. They're at that last spot to get home field advantage in the first round. That is in serious jeopardy because of these draw points that they have. And again, these draw points that they have throughout the season, is that going to come back to haunt them if they don't get home field advantage, at least in the first round of the playoffs? But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, and that, of course, is Dallas and Austin. And I got to say, for Austin, they never do well against Dallas in the regular season. And I'm pretty sure they're thankful the fact that they were able to get those 2 crucial victory in the last 2 games, because, again, it just feels like, it's almost like if you're Austin or if you're a Las Vegas fan, when you play against Dallas in the regular season, it's either going to be an automatic L or it's going to be a draw, because, they definitely did not show up in this game against Dallas. Now, in the first half, Stuver would deny Farrington after just 26 seconds, and then 45 seconds later, or scratch that, 63 seconds later, Dallas would take the lead as Pedro Musa would score from Farrington to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. That was only the second shot for Dallas, that is 90 seconds in. Ibiaga looked for another, but he was denied by Stuver. Dallas just pretty much shot out of the cannon in this one. They were already pressing for the second goal. Delgado would put it over from long range before Kaique puts it wide from close. Stuver would then deny Musa on the doorstep of goal. It was all Dallas 26 minutes in. Austin barely had a kick even in the opponent half up to this point, though in the 30th minute, Burrow would head one to Jackson, as that was Austin's first shot, before Rubio would head it wide from close range, as Austin started to finally show a little bit of a pulse in this one, trying to get something going. Though in the 44th minute, Patrice Delgado was in on goal, but he can only hit this one right to Stuver. So we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 1-0, but you just kind of had a sense they wish they would have probably be 2 or 3-0 up by then. But in the second half, O'Brien would put one right to Jackson, but then in the 49th minute on the other end, Dallas would get themselves the second goal, as Comungo would score from Delgado and Jackson. And by the way, once Jackson caught that ball from O'Brien, he immediately launched a counter-attack as well. Kind of giving a little taste of the old medicine that Austin has, because Austin this season has been a very good transition team, and Dallas said, well, not so fast, because we're going to try to give you a little taste of your own medicine in terms of trying on a lightning counter. Comungo did look for another, but he puts this one out wide before Bureau had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Sevovic would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide in the 66th minute. Once again, Austin kind of showed a little bit of life, looking to try to get one back. And yeah, Dallas says not so fast, because Farrington will have a volley that goes wide in the 74th minute before Julio puts it wide from close range. And then he thought he scored in the 88th minute. Problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal, of course, was chopped off for offside. Stuver would then deny Pedrinho from close, and then Forgery would heads it over from close. So that was really the last chance of the game in this one, as in the end, pretty easy win for for Dallas. That is, got the wrong Texas team there. Shots in this one, believe it or not, it was actually pretty close. 15 shots compared to 12 that Austin has, but the shots on goal tells the story. 7 shots on goal compared to 3 that Austin has, and most of those shots on target for Austin was low percentage shot and was very easy for Jacob Jackson to deal with. 7 shots off target compared to 3 that Austin had. 5 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that Austin has in this game. And like I said, for Austin, they're pretty thankful the fact that they got those 2 big wins to get themselves higher in the standings, because like I said, whenever they play against Dallas, whether it's on the road or at home in the regular season, they just don't do well against them. They're like their bogey team in the regular season, and I think this is going to be the last time that Austin gets to play Dallas, at least in the regular season, that is. And they're gladly will take that, because that playing against Dallas feels like it's like their worst enemy, not just because of the rivalry that is in the Copa Tijas, but just simply they really struggle whenever they play against Dallas. Dallas always have Austin's number whenever they play against them in the regular season, both home and on the road, that is. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of all 8 of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? Of course, we do have some midweek games that is going to happen. I believe we got 3 midweek games that's going to happen. I'll try my best in terms of trying to watch some of those midweek games that is. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.